This is turning out to be a surgical summer. The Dragon's Treasure really screwed up when he made the mistake of replying to the response reaper in the comments of my response video, because now I've realized even more flaws in his argument. I don't expect a legitimate response from him to either of these videos because it only hurt his reputation. I have no malice towards this man. I just call out bad arguments or theses when I see them. For example, I responded to Literature Devil's video that was essentially saying Eastern writing is better than Western. I agree, but his arguments didn't make sense, so I replied. These videos are a matter of principle. I doubt anyone will do this, but don't send hate towards him. And if you're watching this, Dragon, don't be shy to give me a shout out whenever you bring up the Donzo argument, like you said you would. Somewhere along the way, the Naruto world fell apart. This is a quote in his first video. The video is also titled, How to Destroy Your Own World Building. Call me crazy, but I think his thesis is that Naruto built a world and then messed it up. I want to set up clear guidelines to make my stance very clear, unlike him. What constitutes destroying world building for me is retconning any world building. If a story sets up one thing in the world and later reverses that, that would be destroying world building. That is the most fair and logical way of arguing this thesis. If that's his thesis, then he did a poor job at supporting it. If his hand sign argument was right, this would support his argument. Hand signs would have been retconned. His Manji formation complaint is a different case. Assuming that formations disappeared, how would that prove that the world building is being destroyed? Characters use the formation once and never again, and that means the setting is crumbling? Here are a few easy possible answers. The formation was never relevant again for the situation shown in the plot. The characters outgrew the need for it, or the characters forgot about it. In his comment on my video, he made fun of my Donzo argument. Let me explain my thought process. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and assumed that he was arguing that the world of Naruto is somehow unrealistic because all of the threats are combat and action based. That's a bad argument, but I decided to counter it on his terms by bringing up how politicians are threats for their political power, not their combat. But his comment on my video shows that I shouldn't have given him the benefit of the doubt. His argument was not as complex as I assumed. His entire problem was that all threats are or were ninja. That's it. In a ninja world focused on ninja heroes, he considers having all or mostly ninja antagonists as part of how Naruto destroyed his world building. Where's the retcon? The story started off with ninja threats and ends with ninja threats. That's consistency, which is the opposite of what he's arguing. Now, the power escalation. Once again, in the very first chapter, there is a giant nine-tailed fox. So when characters summon other giant animals, how is that destroying the setting? Am I missing something? That's like arguing the Quincy's in the last arc of Bleach are retconned, even though Uryu is in the very first arc. How is adding a concept to the world, like the curse mark, destroying the world? It isn't conflicting with anything that was set up. This isn't a retcon. That's like arguing that the addition of Logia fruits or Haki in One Piece is a retcon, or the addition of Arrancar and Fullbringers in Bleach is a retcon. Are stories just not allowed to expand on their setting? What's the cutoff line? When does a story have to completely stop expanding its setting? Running out of chakra would have been an okay supporting argument if it was correct, but just okay. Assuming it was true, brute force wouldn't have been a retcon. If characters got more and more destructive techniques, and there weren't weaknesses or strategic abilities on the same level to counter, like in DBZ, then brute force becoming the primary tactic would be a natural evolution of combat, not a retcon. That's like saying humans switching to guns over axes and swords is a retcon. Assuming it was true, the supporting cast becoming useless is the same as what I just said for brute force. If the main characters kept getting stronger and stronger while the supports stayed the same, it's only natural that they wouldn't be of much use in the future. So that's just a further dissection of his first video. Now, let me dissect his comment. He says there isn't really anything said when there clearly was. He says that he addressed most of my points in the second video and that I just ignored it, which is a bad faith argument. I didn't watch his follow-up video because in the first 2 minutes, it just sounded like he was doubling down. Dragon argues that this is bad faith, but it's not. I said I'd respond to the first video, and I did. Bad faith arguments require some sort of deception, which was absent from my video. He said he replied to most of my arguments in the second video, which I doubt, but we'll find out soon enough. In his second paragraph, he says, quote, "Non-ninja forces no longer mattering," end quote. But they never really mattered to begin with. The most you could say to support this claim is Gato in the first arc, but Zabuza and Haku, two ninja, were the main threats. The job of Team 7 was to protect Tazuna. From what? From ninja. And let me remind you, he said non-ninja forces. This leans into my benefit of the doubt because the elders and Danzo were no longer ninja forces. They were formerly, but not in the present. But then he backtracks by arguing that simply having been a ninja counts as a ninja force. I've countered both possibilities anyway, so pick your poison. He also argues that because he forgot the daimyo, that means they're irrelevant. Well, I never forgot them, so that means they're not irrelevant. You see how dumb the argument sounds? As a viewer, if you care more about the story or a specific topic, you're more likely to remember it. For example, I remember the existence of sword grades in One Piece and paid close attention to how Zoro's blades were slowly leveling up. Why? Because I thought it was cool. Meanwhile, I forgot about other details like the ancient weapons because I didn't care. Your first video clearly shows that you didn't care enough about Naruto to remember small details and make good arguments, so the chances of you remembering the daimyo is obviously going to be low. As for the Death Note argument, all he can say is LOL. He calls me a butthurt fanboy, but as I said at the start, this is not personal, this is about principle. The principle of making high quality and well researched arguments in video essays. Time for his second video. He said he addressed all of my claims. Was he telling the truth, or was he just trying to wiggle out of a real debate by using information that he knows I haven't seen? You already know my claims from the first response, so we'll see if he addressed them after I tackle what he said. But before that, this man literally said, Shippuden became a blur for me. Then why would you make a video talking about it? Why would you make a video on something you can barely remember? That explains why you can't remember the daimyo, buddy. A giant demon fox has destructive abilities, not humans. I never argued this and think it's a dumb argument from Naruto defenders, but his argument that humans shouldn't be able to reach that giant destruction scale is stupid. Characters slowly escalated to that stage, just like in DBZ, One Piece, and Bleach. His problem is that he thinks Naruto should have a ceiling and that going past it is destroyed world building. I've actually tackled this in my power escalation video, but there is no ceiling with magic. Magic can go as high as the author wants it to, but Dragon doesn't want that and treats it as a flaw. So when Luffy creates a giant fist in gear 3rd, 4th, or 5th, is that a problem? When Luffy catches and throws lightning, is that a problem? When Kaido turns into a giant dragon and spits out fire and makes tornadoes, is that a problem? I could go on. I chose One Piece because most fans are soft on it, and he showed an example of Luffy without criticizing it, leading me to believe that he thinks One Piece does it well. I don't care about the Naruto should have ended after pain argument. It's stupid, but I want to point out that he uses anime episodes, which includes filler, to count the percentage rather than the chapters. When talking about Naruto as a story, using fillers as an argument is bad faith because they are not canon. Quote, let's say some fight is 95% mindless fighting and 5% of some form of strategy. End quote. This is a segment of a quote where he argues a high percentage of Naruto fights are mindless fighting with no strategy. This is an unbelievable lie. I agree with him that it would be time consuming to prove it, but that doesn't change its false nature. How can you even make this argument over half of the story is a blur to you? But I digress. He cherry picks QB Naruto versus Orochimaru, which is definitely on the lower end of strategy, but I can easily destroy this claim. First, let me establish that a lot of Naruto fights combine physical power with strategy. His argument is mindless action versus strategy. If you were to take the percentage of all canon Naruto fights that are mindless action with no strategy, I guarantee strategy would outweigh brute force. And I'm only going to look at the big fights to make this easy. Part 1. Land of Waves. Team 7 vs Zabuza. Team 7 vs Haku and Zabuza. Both had mostly strategy. Chunin exams. Sasuke vs Orochimaru. Konoha vs Team Dozu. Team 7 vs Team Oboro. Sasuke vs Yoroi. Naruto vs Kiba. Sakura vs Ino. Gaara vs Lee. All had mostly strategy. Shikamaru vs Tamari. Naruto vs Neji. Sasuke vs Gaara. Naruto vs Gaara. 3rd vs Orochimaru. Mostly strategy. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Naruto vs Orochimaru and Kabuto. Mostly strategy. Naruto vs Sasuke 1 was at least half strategy. Choji vs Jirobo. Neji vs Kidomaru. Kiba and Kankuro vs Sakon and Ukon. Shikamaru and Tamari vs Toyuya. Lee and Gaara vs Kimimaro. All mostly strategy. Naruto vs Sasuke 2 was at least half strategy, and that's being generous towards mindless action. Shippuden. Sakura and Chio vs Sasori, mostly strategy. Naruto vs Orochimaru was not mostly strategy, but it did have strategy on Orochimaru's side. How do you think he stayed alive? Everyone vs Kakuzu and Hidan, both fights, mostly strategy. Sasuke vs Deidara, same thing. Jiraiya versus Pain, Sasuke versus Itachi, Naruto versus Pain, Sasuke versus Killer Bee, all the same. Sasuke versus Kages, Sasuke versus Danzo, same thing. Naruto and Bee versus the Jinchurikis was pretty mindless. Madara versus Kages, Sasuke and Itachi versus Kabuto, Naruto, Kakashi, Guy, and Bee versus Obito, all strategies. Naruto, Sasuke, and everyone versus Obito, strategy. Guy, Minato, and Gaara versus Madara, strategy. Naruto and Sasuke versus Madara, strategy. Team 7 versus Kaguya, strategy. Naruto versus Sasuke, maybe a third strategy. That's all the major fights in Naruto, so I don't know what this man was smoking when he made his argument. Naruto has some of the most strategic battles in anime and manga. It'd be time consuming to go through all of the strategies right here, but I believe if you read or watch the battles with honesty, you'll see that I'm right. Anytime a character switches tactics or their fighting style, that is a strategy. The only way I can see him honestly coming to this conclusion is that his definition of a strategy is poorly defined. Something as small as Lee deciding to open a gate is a strategy. Sasuke using his maxed out Sharingan to predict Naruto's movements is a strategy. Choji taking a different colored pill to change the tide of a battle is a strategy. Overall, he didn't do his research and it shows. He just threw random numbers out there. I keep going back to the fact that he said he didn't remember part 2. This alone is not a solid argument against him, but the fact that his actual arguments are full of holes and lies either shows that he's being purposely deceitful in this video, or it supports the fact that he didn't remember part 2, or Naruto at all for that matter. He says that complex jutsu begin to take one hand sign because of reasons. The reason is improvement. Characters who become better at using jutsu can reduce the hand signs. That's part of the power system. Again, this is something that he simply isn't fond of and chalks it up to a flaw. He says escalation needs to be from a foot to a yard, not a city block. First off, that's just your standards. That's not some kind of universal rule. Again, even if a story escalated to a city block, that doesn't retcon anything. It's not destroying world building, which is your thesis, or at least it's supposed to be. Naruto's escalation is gradual. Let's look at the titular protagonist as an example. Not including his beast, he starts off with the multi-shadow clone jutsu, then learns summoning, then learns Rasengan, then he gets a bigger Rasengan, a Rasengan mixed with wind, then Sage Mode, a form which enhances all of his regular abilities, the main one being a bigger Rasen Shuriken. As for his tailed beast, he starts off by only being able to access the chakra, then he gets 1 tail against Sasuke, 3 tails against Deidara, 4 against Orochimaru, and 6 and 8 against Pain. This is gradual. Additionally, the Kyuubi's power isn't based off of Naruto's skill, it's based off of how much Naruto gives him control when he's angry. Still, it's a gradual escalation. Then, before the war, he tames the Kyuubi and gets the yellow form, which gives him multiple chakra arms, which he already had in 1 tail, and new Rasengans, which he already had in base form. Some of his Rasengans are bigger, while others come from chakra arms. Then he gets the caped yellow form, which allows him to use the Kyuubi avatar. Jinchurikis were already established as being able to turn into their beast back in part 1. This is a little different, but still in the same lane. Then the Sage of Six Paths gives him slight healing, Truth Seeker orbs, and more Rasengans. I'm missing the part where Naruto took more than a yard of development. He just kept expanding what he already had, while the Kyuubi kept leveling up what he had. Eventually, the yellow form combines both sides. Where is the city block in Naruto, the character? He then switches his argument to Naruto gained too many power-ups in a short time span. There are 2 problems with this. The first is that he's looking at in-world time in Naruto, which is comical. A regular person would have looked at the power development from arc to arc, but he used in-world time. Why is this a problem? Let me give you an example. If in arc 1 of my story, I have characters using martial arts, and in arc 2, they are summoning meteors, does it matter whether the arcs are 1 day apart or 1 century apart? No, it doesn't. What matters is the pacing of the story compared to the escalation of the characters. Setting matters too, but let's just assume that this is a story with magic. The time we spend with a story is what should dictate how fast the powers escalate. If that same story spends 20 different arcs in 1 year, I'd be surprised if the characters didn't have a high level of magic by the 20th arc. My point is, Naruto paces his escalation well from arc to arc. Again, a lot of these dumb complaints could be targeted at DBZ, One Piece, or Bleach. Finally, the kaiju stuff is a bad argument I don't support. Now, let's go back to his comment. Most of the video is points I already addressed in the second video. End quote. Did he address the Death Note rules? No. Did he address the hand signs? Yes, but he says they decrease for some reason, rather than acknowledging that it's part of improvement in the power system. I'll be generous and give him a full point. Did he address formations? No. Did he address Danzo? No. Summonings? No. Curse mark? No. Running out of MP? No. Strategy? Yes, but he still got it wrong. 1 point for that. Total score? 2 out of 8. That's 25% of my video that was addressed, which is less than half and nowhere near most. So to answer my previous question, he was arguing in bad faith and trying to slip out of my arguments by using info that I hadn't seen and hoping that I would trust him or not watch the video. In conclusion, his addendum is just as bad as his first video. Word of advice, if you're going to make a video essay on a specific topic, do the research, reread the manga, rewatch the anime, or even just surf the wiki for quick information. It'll decrease the chances that you spew ignorance like this. Bro made a follow-up video and had the chance to do the research and realize his errors, but he just doubled down instead. I'd actually love to see him make a video using these same points against Dragon Ball or One Piece, but that's probably not going to happen because based off of these videos, he doesn't seem to have a hate boner for them. Maybe I'll have to make satirical videos using these same terrible arguments. You might be wondering why I didn't just reply to his comment. The first is that I prefer video format. Watching a video is much easier and enjoyable than reading a comment. It takes less effort and I can increase the speed. The second reason is that this debate started with videos, so it'll end with videos. Let me give you an example. If there are two celebrities and one disrespects the other on a public stage, they can't turn around and apologize in private. They need to publicly apologize. If the disrespect was in private, they can publicly apologize if they want to. You can go bigger in scale, but not smaller. I have the same mentality for these videos. He made his arguments in a video, I responded in a video. I'm not going to allow the debate to now go to the YouTube comments. Comments are much smaller in scale than videos. More people see videos than comments, and a deleted video is far more noticeable than a deleted comment. You made your essay on a video scale, you'll take your L on a video scale. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.